Hi guys, Dave in Texas here, and what I've got in front of you right now is a little Fender Telecaster with a busted nut, unfortunately. I've taken the strings off, they're hanging there on the bridge, and I didn't completely remove them or cut them because I'm going to need them later to do this job. Alright? Now, what I've done in the previous 10 minutes, I use a little handy dandy steam cleaner, right? And I've knocked this camera around like a dozen times so far. Jesus, it's hard to do this thing. Ugh. Anyway, I couldn't show you that because all it does is steam up the camera lens. You can't see shit. So what it is just a little hand steamer that our housekeeper uses to clean the tile in our bathrooms and in our showers to clean the grout, right? So it's like $39, she told me, at the God, I don't know, some store sells the damn things. Anyway, I'm going to show you the tools I use after I've steamed this thing, right? I may have to steam it again, depending on how hard it is to get this thing out. But here's one of the main tools I use, and it's a little hard-tipped tool, like a dentist tool. Very, very sharp but thick tip to this thing, so it won't crack or break free, right? And it's long at 45-degree angle. Comes in very, very handy. Now, what I do is take it like that. See that? I mean, whoa, shit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but what it's doing is popping loose that. There it goes. All that old glue. Damn. Okay. It's popping loose all that old glue from that. Yep. Like that. Yeah, there it goes. Get all the glue off there, right? Let's just get the old college try. And I'm doing it at a 45-degree angle against the nut, not the wood. You follow me? Alright? So it looks like all the surface and glue against the nuts popped free now. And it's probably because of that stain. And the glue that I'm removing is this. Gorilla Glue. I put 8 good drops of glue underneath this thing. I'll put it in. Now, of course, the problem is it's a Fender pre-cut nut. And it never did fit this damn thing, the strings in it, because it's cut for 12s and I use 10s. So I went to the store, you know where, and I bought one of these. This is a Fender Telecaster nut that's shaped but not pre-cut, so you can do all the cutting your own self. You follow me? It's got the right radius to it. They come 2 to a box, right? And it's bone. And not plastic like the one I put in there. I paid 14 bucks for it. And it's more of a grayish brownish color than this white nut here, obviously. That's plastic. So that will be replacing this old nut. Right? There's more glue coming out. This thing came out easy. And guys, if it's a hard one to get out of there, you can actually use cutting tools like this. This is a chisel blade X-Acto knife, and also a set of blades like this. See this? To cut down against the nut, not the wood, not straight down in like this, but up against the. See, my hands are in the way. Up against the nut like this. See this? And cut. Alright, so you don't cut up the damn fretboard. Now, I've waited an extra 30 minutes for this to dry out and to not be wet from the steam. So that also comes into play. Make sure that if you steam it, you give it time to dry back out again. Because the wood's very soft and you can scratch it very easily. And this is a very nice rosewood fingerboard. I don't want to screw that up. So, I showed you the cutting tools I use, how I use those. I showed you the glue that I use. I have used this glue, this type of glue in the past. it will give up in about a year or so. For some reason, it biodegrades. But this Gorilla Glue has been around for a few years. Actually, so far, everything I've used it to glue with it has never came loose, ever. So I'm using that again, and the fender replacement nut, as you can see by fender, bone nut, right? And when I put this nut in here, right, I'll put it in and balance it out, measure it out with a pair of calipers, make sure it's centered up, and I'll dry fit it, score each side of this thing before I cut it, right? And then I'll cut it just slightly outside that score line so I can round the edge of this thing, just like this one's rounded. See that? With a little hand file. You get me? So it looks nice and professional, nicely finished up. And I'll use like 8 separate drops of glue, just like I did on this one. Hopefully it won't come out as much as this, but it does. And the reason why is this is flat inside, and this has got a radius to it. So you have to fill in that gap between the two so they don't have a big gap. You get me? Alright, if worse comes to worse, I'll use this device here. And it's a big ass hunting knife with a serrated blade edge. And I'll cut it like this. Just flat against it and cut against the nut without ever touching the rosewood as best I can. And I'm not really trying to cut the nut through and off. I'm just trying to vibrate enough to break that glue underneath there up by cutting into it. You get me? Cutting into it and using that serrated edge vibrates it enough that it just breaks free and out it comes. Okay, now I've shown you that tool. Let me show you a few others. This is a spring-loaded 45-degree needle nose. And what in essence I do with this, once I've cut into it, pretty much like I've done now, I've already done all the cutting. I'll put this against the nut and use the edge of it as a fulcrum so I can't lift that nut out of there. You get me? And if that's a problem, I'll use this flat one, which even gives me more leverage to fulcrum it out of that slot there. Alright, so let's give that a try real quick, see what happens. See if it's going to be cooperative. Ah, there it comes. Hey, oh, hey! Look at that. Oh, shit. Well, most of it came out. There's still some of it down in there. That white you see there, that's the part that broke free. You can see right there, it's all white, and there's the glue, the brown part. Damn it. Anyway, I'll take this pick tool to remove that extra stuff in there. Just get underneath there from this angle on the other side, and just get it out of there. And I've also got a very long, sharp edged one tool in here. So I can show it to you. That one right there in the middle. Sorry. With a long, pointy edge to it, and get it out of there. And then use some sandpaper on a stick to get in there, like 440 grit, get in there, and just put a little bit of score and make sure all the glue's out, the old glue's out. But it looks like all is out already. From what I can see, most of it's out. Anyway, I'll score it up a little bit more. Anyway, now, once I've shaved this nut, because it's too wide, with some sandpaper, right? I'll dry fit it into the hole, alright, and put the strings back on the guitar, and I'll use this tool to score the center line of the strings, all 6 of them. But I won't cut against that. I'll actually use a caliper to make sure the distance between those 6 score lines is equidistance. Make any adjustments there, you know, I need to make. Does it make sense? Try to keep it simple and make sure it works right the first time. And I thought about trying to show you that by putting it into a little vise I have, a little table vise with a vacuum on it, but even trying to do that, my hand's going to be constantly in the way like this trying to do it. There's just no way. My files aren't long enough to do that. You actually get out of the way of the work I'm doing. So anyway, next video we'll be showing you how I dry fit this in there just before gluing it up, and do the final fitting into it, right? Check the strings against it, and then tighten the strings down and put the clamp to the nut itself, and give it a few hours to set up, right? Anyway, if any questions about this, give me a holler. Very straightforward and simple. It came loose basically with steam, a little bit of glue removal with this tool here, right? And using this 45 degree as a fulcrum to just pop it right out. Nice. Whoops, that was on the floor. So, any questions, give me a holler. Dave in Texas. Have a good one, guys. Next video, I'm going to show you how it's going to go in. Bye.